to Pica Poco Kitchen. Today we're making merengues! Vámonos! We are known for our love for spicy food. However, we also have a sweet tooth, even though sometimes those sweets are also spicy. But that's not the case with merengues. Merengues are a tradition that brings core memories of childhood. At least they do for me. The merenguero, the guy who sells these sweet pink treats, is very identifiable by their folding tables with their tray of treats that are covered in plastic. And you can find them outside schools, in parks, in streets, and also by their very peculiar chant, which is more like a nasal sounding chant that goes something like Merengues! Something like that. This tradition goes way back. It is believed that back in the day, merengueros would be outside school playing, flipping coins with kids to see if they would get buy one, get two free, or just buy one, which kind of makes me sound like it was a win-win for the merenguero. But I mean, I guess the kids got a nice treat in the end. So there are many styles of these merengues, but we're doing two today: the rosette or the pink merengue, and gaznate, which is a cylindrical paste filled with meringue. So I invite you to follow me in this path of making merengues and also through a dark, crazy road of finding out about salmonella and eggs. Let's start by making the dough for the gaznates. We're gonna start with half a cup of flour. So I'm making only 5. On the description, I'm gonna leave the recipe for 5 gaznates or 10 gaznates, which would be the full recipe. I'm only making 5 because I'm not making that much meringue and I'm also experimenting, so bear with me. To that, I'm gonna add half a tablespoon-ish of sugar, 1 tablespoon of shortening, and just a pinch of salt. Let's start by dissolving the shortening first. You could use butter instead. I'm gonna add 1 small egg because there's no way to do half an egg. Splash of vanilla. And I'll start incorporating the flour. And once my egg has been incorporated, I'm gonna start adding water. It goes up to 1/4 of a cup of water, but add it little by little. I'm actually gonna use the tablespoon. Start with 2. And once it's well incorporated, I'm gonna wrap it in film and let it sit in my fridge. Now it's time of arts and crafts with Ali. Well, so to make the gaznate cylindrical shape, you would normally use a mold, like a cannoli mold would do. I don't have any, and I'm not gonna buy them because I don't think I'm gonna be doing this that often. Maybe someday in the future. I don't know. The thing is, I don't have them today, and I forgot to ask my mother-in-law if she had some. So I'm going to make some, or at least I saw online that this would work. And I hope so because I'm really afraid because we need to fry them and I don't want to cause a fire or anything of the sorts. So, this is a paper towel tube. And I also have toilet papers. Now, is it gross to use this? I don't know. Okay, so it's not gonna be this big. I'm gonna have to divide it, and I already measured it and divide. I'm gonna divide it by 4 pieces. I don't know how crafty people do crafts. I don't know. When I was a child, before arts attack and all that, there was this lady that would come on TV on the weekends, and she would have this show of arts, recycling things, cereal boxes, milk cardboards, and she will do amazing things. I don't remember her name, but her stage name or her persona was Cositas, little things, and she was amazing. And she wore 2 beautiful long braids. That's hence the hairstyle. Okay, here I have my pieces, and I have heavy duty foil. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it, hoping that this is gonna be enough to cover the inside. It's so not inside. Damn it. Okay, so I thought about this might be better and easier. So I just wrap it the same length that I did before, like double the length, and then I just twisted the ends. Would that be smart? Maybe. So I think I'm gonna do all of them this way. I'm not gonna bore you with this. Let me do this and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have a well surface flour. So I have a well floured surface, my dough. Um, so I was gonna do it by hand, but then I remember I have my machine. So you can absolutely do it by hand. I'm gonna show you how to do it by hand, and just I'm gonna make it by hand. Why get it dirty if I can do it by hand? Yeah, forget about that. Erase that. Um, you want to make it real thin so it fries well. I have my oil already frying, and you would just use a knife to make it straight. And with a little bit of water, we're gonna glue it together. Okay, so in the end, I made them by hand. No pasta machine. Yes, poopy rolls. Um, we'll see how that goes. I have my oil is ready, so let's fry them. And I need to take you there so you can see. Please don't start a fire. Please don't start a fire. And after my very dangerous mishap, I just made sure to carefully roll around my cone so it would get crispy evenly. And because I was thinking about maybe baking some of my gaznates, I didn't let these two get too brown, so I took them out when they were a little bit paler. Let's talk meringue. So there are 3 main kinds of meringue: Swiss meringue, Italian meringue, which are both shelf stable, and French meringue, which is this one. This one is not. On doing the preparation, the research for this video, that led me through a rabbit hole on salmonella. So French meringue is the simplest to make. It's just egg whites and sugar. It never has the presence of heat, therefore it's raw white eggs. And I don't know, I grew up in Mexico 30 plus years of my life eating gaznates and eating my mom's icing for her tres leches cake, which was French meringue. And I remember licking the whisks from her machine, you know, very happily until I saw that video of Bart Simpson doing it, and then his tongue gets stuck in it, and then I stop and I use my fingers like that was wiser. Anyway, so like we're Mexicans, we eat in the street vendors, we eat raw fish cooked by lime, and we're fine. I've never been sick of that, you know. But as soon as I moved here, I know everybody's like quite, they get freaked out about things like that. And well, now I guess I'm freaked out too, and I got anxiety and I started researching. So, what do you do? How do you do it? Is there a possibility? Well, I don't know. This research led me to understand that it is very low, the possibility of getting salmonella, because it's, I believe, 1 in 20,000 eggs who can carry salmonella in the US. Also, for the majority of commercial eggs, there's like a chance of zero point 0.1 to 1.6% of salmonella possibility. Um, so I think I'm gonna risk it. I also learned that Canada has one chance in every 200,000 eggs. So, Canada, you're doing something great. Also, Norway or Finland or both, they're salmonella free, which I applaud. So, I think I'm gonna risk it. Because I don't want to do two different meringues for my rosettes and for the gaznates. For the rosette, there's no problem because I'm gonna bake them. This is actually my same recipe for pavlovas, which has no problem because you put it in the oven, so in the end it gets cooked. But the gaznate, I'm just gonna fill it in, guys. I'm gonna risk it because I live in the limit or not. But I don't think anything is gonna happen, right? So I'm just gonna do it that way. Of course, if you don't want to go that route, make Swiss meringue or Italian meringue. Now, I saw other people who would fill with French meringue their gaznate cones and then bake it. So I think I might test that with two of my cones and see if it changes the texture or if it works. So yeah, now that my anxiety has calmed down, I mean, come on, the odds are in my favor, right? I don't know. I'm just gonna do it this way. And going back to the recipe. So the ingredients are, for French meringue, 4 egg whites, 250 grams of icing sugar. I'm gonna use 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and 1 tablespoon of vinegar. So, as I said before, and this is especially to my friend Joe, who asked me for my recipe for pavlova. If you want to make pavlova, these are the exact same ingredients and the exact same process. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Let's whisk it. When making meringue, the order of your ingredients matter. For French meringue, you want to start by whisking your egg whites to make sure you create air walls, allowing an organized chain of proteins. When your egg whites have bulked up, the addition of acid in the form of lime, vinegar, or creme of tartar prevents the protein to overbond, leaving no room for the sugar. By adding the sugar after you have built up those chains, the density of the sugar creates a firmer and stable meringue, while still completely dissolving and avoiding the loss of volume. In other notes, the addition of cornstarch, which is not always used, also improves your meringue's volume and prevents shrinkage by the absorption of liquids. It will also give your meringue an internal softer texture.
When I achieved soft peaks, I added the traditional pink color. I'm using gel coloring, so only the tip of a toothpick would be enough. I just smeared it on the whisk, and that was plenty to color the whole meringue. Up until now, I've been mixing my meringue at medium speed. Now that it's smooth and glossy, I'll speed it up for the last run to create stiff peaks. Never walk away from your mixer, since the window for overmixing is small. If things go sideways and you catch some separation of liquids on time, you can mend it by adding some sugar. But if you keep an eye on your meringue, you'll be able to know when to stop it, as you see that the swirls stay in place.
So here's my meringue, quite stable, shiny, nice texture, and it passes the test. So I'm gonna transfer it into my sleeve and proceed to fill my Gaznate cones and then make some rosettes. So let's make a rosette because that's the simplest thing to do. I'm gonna give them space in between them because they do expand in the oven. My oven is 300 Fahrenheit already ready for them. And you just want to make a nice circle, just like that. Okay. And for the gaznates, by the way, when you make them, make sure that your sides are free. That way makes it easier to take out the little rolls. They work fine. Nobody's burning, which is nice. And they're pretty sturdy and they smell amazing. So you want to fill them from the back. Heyo. So let's start from the back. Oh, that was misfortunate. And then come back to the front. Whoop. Yeah, well, that rosette is gonna be funky. Let's do it again. So you want to fill them from the back without lining them. And then come back and do the front. Well, some things were learned today. Number one, you can make molds out of toilet paper rolls. Number two, if you're afraid of salmonella, move to Norway or Finland. And number three, anxiety won. In the end, I ended up baking 3 of my 5 gaznates. I did live 2. I'm still gonna eat them. So what happened is that, of course, meringue expands in the heat. So if you're gonna bake them, which honestly it didn't change the texture of the the paste, but it did explode it. So underfill them so they expand nicely, not like these ugly things. They seem quite crunchy, which is, I think, an advantage because if you only fry them, they remain a little bit chewy. Still good though. Now, what I did is I put them under the tray where I had my merengues. So that way they didn't turn that brown. But let's eat them and see how well we did. So first of all, I'm gonna eat this little turd right here because it's adorable. And which would be a great idea if you're planning to make them. Just make a bunch of these ones. Again, if you're gonna make a pavlova, you could pipe them, but you don't necessarily need the piping back. You can just spread a nice circle and use your spatula to give it a shape, and you'll be fine. Or you can make a bunch of this and put them like in a wreath. So let's see how the little turd is. Mm. Mm. Really good. The addition of the vinegar, you cannot taste it, but it helps with that chewy interior. And it's fabulous. Oh, I do like it. Now, what should I do? Should I eat the salmonella one? I think I'm gonna eat the salmonella one. Hey, in the end, it's an experiment. If I die, I'll let you know. Mmm. Mmm. Oh my god. So good. So delicious. But it is fragile. You know what? Let me chop this little bit and just give it a try because I want to check the consistency of my dough. Mm. Mm. You know what? It's an improvement. So, fourth thing we learned today, bake them because the dough gets better, gets crunchier, and you're gonna make a mess no matter how you eat them. But you also won't be afraid of salmonella contamination. Yeah, so bake them, absolutely. I think both options are fantastic. This is for the brave ones, and this is for everybody else. Yes, I think this is a win-win. Everybody wins, just like the merengue back in the days. We flip the coin, and we're winners. So I invite you to make them, share them with your friends, just like this video, like, subscribe, and be notified. And for more, follow me on the socials. Adios, amigues.